Hi, I'm Tom Tresser, the co-founder of the Civic Lab and the lead organizer for the TIF Illumination project. TIF stands for Tax Increment Financing, and it's a big deal in the city of Chicago and all over the country. In Chicago, about 152 TIF districts suck up about $1.5 billion in property taxes every year. Where does it go? Who gets paid? Who gets hurt? That's the purpose of the TIF Illumination project, which is 100% volunteer driven. We use data mining, old school investigatory reporting, graphics and map making, and combine it all with community organizing to take road shows out into the community to explain what TIFs are and how they are helping or hurting people all over the city. Now, this is a national issue because TIFs are in 47 of the 50 states. In Illinois, we think that it's about $1.2 billion in TIFs all over the state. And in Chicago, it's about $422 million gone missing every year. What happened to that money? That's what we're doing in the TIF Illumination project in what we call TIF Illuminations, or town meetings that are organized by the neighbors all over the city. Up to now, we've done 23 meetings that have illuminated 132 TIFs across 30 wards, and over 3,600 neighbors have come out and sat and listened and have gotten illuminated. So let's talk TIFs. TIF, Tax Increment Financing, is an economic development tool set up by the city to spur development in so-called blighted areas. When a TIF district is created, a snapshot is taken of all the properties inside the TIF district, and it is noted how much property tax those properties are throwing off. That's called the base. And we note that amount. That money goes to the city for its operations, such as the Board of Ed, the parks, the libraries, the city itself, and the county of Cook. Now, for 23 years, every penny above that base, which we represent by this triangle, that's the increment, is captured by the TIF. This money goes to us for the operations of the city and the essential services that we all know, love, and need. This money is captured by the TIF and goes to the mayor for his uses. And as I said, the idea is to be used to develop businesses in blighted areas. But there's a problem. Here we are in the central business district of the city of Chicago, the Central Loop TIF. And while it was alive, it extracted almost $1 billion in property taxes from this very blighted area. The guys who bought the Sears Tower, they got a Welcome to Chicago TIF gift of $3.8 million. Look how blighted this place is. We're standing at Lake and Canal on the construction site of a 52-story office tower, and they're getting $29 million in TIF money. How blighted is this area? We're standing at the corner of Weed, Halsted, and North Avenues in one of Chicago's hottest retail districts. In front of me is Charles Schwab, Steppenwolf, Starbucks, and even an Apple store. And behind me is Grossinger's, which is their superstore for retail and repairs. And they got $8.5 million in TIF money for that project. We're in the 21st Ward, in the parking lot of the closed Morgan Elementary School. The TIF Illumination project has discovered about $33 million in property taxes have been extracted from this ward just in the last few years. Where'd it go? They probably could use that money right about now.
Hi, I'm Doris Lewis Brooks. I'm a mother, a wife, a homeowner, a business owner, and a local school council member. I live in the 21st Ward. As you can see behind me, the 21st Ward is being used as a dumping ground. Not just what you see behind me, but all over the 21st Ward. TIF money has been sucked out of this community in the tune of $33 million. I am so sick of being on the losing end of the stick. I'm running for alderman of the 21st Ward. It's time to illuminate.
Okay, so we've been around the city and you've seen a little bit about how tax increment financing does and doesn't work. But there's much more to reveal. There's much more to illuminate.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Tatum, and I am a real estate broker for Keller Williams Realty in Hyde Park. My office actually is in the 4th Ward, and I spent a lot of time in that community. I became interested in the TIF project some years ago, actually, and when I realized that how, frankly, unfair, unjust, and unethical that these funds were being distributed or allocated, I just knew I had to do something about it. My first meeting, actually, with Tom, I met Tom back in March at my first TIF meeting. And by the second meeting that I attended with the Civic Lab, I knew I had to volunteer. It was just so blatantly wrong, it seemed to me, and actually bordering on criminal, to be honest. Just to think how the city of Chicago can perpetuate this cycle of theft, if you will. There's no other way to explain it. It just baffles me. And I wanted to help illuminate what's going on, because people don't know. I've learned a lot since I've been working with Tom and volunteering, how that the TIF it doesn't show on the taxpayers' property tax bill, which I think is horrible, even though it is being deducted, a great portion of it. So I know Tom is trying to work to get that put on the tax bill. That's one thing. The other is that how these companies that really don't need the money are getting millions of dollars in taxpayer TIF funds to enrich themselves, you might say, and while other areas are being ignored. And so I would just like to help in the cause any way that I can, to get the word out that this is what's going on, this is what we need to do as a community, and anyone that feels the need to either volunteer your time or donate or volunteer research time, I'm sure Tom and the rest of the team here would greatly appreciate it. We need to let the city of Chicago taxpayers know where their tax dollars are going, and it needs to be put on the property tax bill. And so come join us and help us illuminate Chicago. Thank you.
Well, Marjorie was just one of many hundreds of volunteers activated by the TIF Illumination project since we started in 2013. 75 public meetings all over Chicagoland in front of about 6,400 people, organized by people like Marjorie. And this is not just a Chicago issue. This is not just an Illinois issue. This is a national issue. We estimate there are about 10,000 TIF districts across the USA that extract on the order of $40 billion in property tax money each and every year. And if you use the rule of thumb that public education in America takes about 50 cents of every property tax dollar collected, that means that America's public schools are being ripped off to the tune of $20 billion in lost revenues each and every year, and that money is going into sort of black box or slush funds controlled by local mayors for projects of little public value. So this work surfaces, we think, some very key issues for our times, including who plans what for who and who profits. This is not just an issue here in America, but all across the globe, as we have the right to the city issue. So what are cities for? Who is designing, planning, and building these cities? Who is profiting from so-called community development? So the TIF Illumination project is part of a larger push to give people at the grassroots level the information and the data they need to seize control of their own destinies and can answer for themselves, what does this community need to make it great? So we hope that you will help us build out the Civic Lab and the TIF Illumination project so we can scale it up across not just the United States, but the globe. Thank you so much.